Alright everyone, welcome back. Vlog number 5. We are on our way to Steven's game again. Playing 1-2. This time I'm thinking about buying it for 200 rather than 100. I felt like you should always play with like 100 more than the big blind. And I was playing 1-1 before. $100 was fine. But since it's 1-2, when I usually play like in card rooms when it's 1-2, I buy it for 200. So I feel like I'll do that tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully we bounce back from last session. Last session wasn't the best. We didn't play as well when we were on tilt. If we lose a big hand tonight, we'll be looking to play more smart and more conservative. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on the felt when the cards are dealt, and thank you guys once again. You're the best. Thanks. Another day means another poker vlog. Playing 1-2 today, but instead of buying it for 100, we're in for 200. Hopefully Steve here decides to donate some money to me tonight. First hand we are dealt, we look down at Ace-King offsuit in the big blind. Pretty nice to start off one of the first hands of the session with a premium, and so hopefully we get paid. Nick in the under the gun 1+1 position makes it $10 to play. Dylan in the hijack calls, and then action folds to me. I don't want to just call here because I want it pretty much just to be heads up, so when action gets to me, I then raise it to $40. Nick thinks that's not too good of a price because he decides to go all in for his remaining $50. Dylan folds, and I have nothing left to do but call. We decide to run it twice in this $141 pot. I show my ace-king to the table, and Nick reveals he has pocket queens. Basically a flip, and we are off to 2 boards. First board bricks out for me, and second board doesn't look too good until the turn is an ace. So no blood is drawn here as we end up chopping. You know, would have liked to take this one down, but chopping is always better than losing. Next hand, we have ace-jack offsuit. We are in the under the gun +1 position, and there is a raise from the low jack to $5. And everyone surprisingly decides to call for a family pot of $45. Flop comes 7-7-10 rainbow, and action checks around. The turn is the 2 of diamonds. The low jack, who raised pre-flop, now decides to bet $5 again. Small blind and I both call, and we are 3 ways to a river. River is a 3, and action gets to me, and I check. Not really expecting much with my ace high. The low jack, who was the pre-flop aggressor, then continues for $20, and sitting with just ace high, pretty easy fold here. And it was a good fold too, as Nick, who was in the low jack, who was doing all the betting, ended up flopping a full house with pocket 10s. Nice hand to you, sir. You know what's worse than losing a big pot? It's not being involved in a pot where you would have won a lot of money. Take this hand, for example, 7 jack of diamonds. An opponent bets out probably $30 pre-flop, and I fold. And I end up flopping a straight flush, one of the best hands I've ever gotten in my life. Just goes to show that pre-flop betting is sometimes necessary as it gets hands like these to fold, but really sucks because that hand would have been very fun to play. I guess that's just the way poker goes. Thought I'd share that with you guys. The following hand, we are dealt King-Jack offsuit in the under the gun position. Action looms to me, and I decide to raise it to $10. It folds around to Matt on the button, and he puts in the call. We are heads up to a flop, which comes 7, Jack, Jack with 2 hearts, giving me trips. I want to play this a little passively, a little sneakily, so I like to check, and Matt checks back. Going to a free turn card, which is the king. It is a king, giving me a full house. I want to see if this board has somehow connected with Matt, so I check. Unfortunately, he checks behind. My guess is he is on some sort of straight or flush draw. Let's hope he gets there on the river. The dealer puts out the 9 of clubs on the river, and this could be somewhat good for us. A 9 puts out some straight possibilities out there, so I decide to lead out here, hoping to look like I'm trying to steal this pot. I fire out $10, and my opponent snap folds. Really unfortunate for us, as I really would have liked to gotten paid there with my boat. Few rotations, and we look down at pocket 3s in the big blind. Action limps to me, and I raised to $5. Player in the middle position snap calls, and Dylan in the cutoff, and Steven in the small blind call as well. Flop comes 9-10 for rainbow, and action checks around on this particular board, and we are 4 ways to a turn, which is the king of clubs. I'm pretty much on check fold here, sitting with the second worst possible pair, but action surprisingly checks around again. The river is the queen of spades. Steven seems like he's fed up with all these checks and goes for almost a pot-sized bet of $15. I fold, and Steven looks like he is going to give birth at any second. Congratulations, Steve. I hope it's a boy. The next hand we look down at is King Jack offsuit again. We're in the big blind, and action limps to Aiden, who is in the small blind, and he raises to $7. I call for 5 more, and Dylan and Steve on the button both come along for the ride. The flop is 8-3-7 rainbow. Aiden checks, I check, and Dylan bets out $5. Steven takes a bit, but eventually he calls. Aiden decides to fold, and I call. The turn is the 3 of spades. I check, Dylan bets 10, and Steven calls. I just have a bluff with catcher on this paired board, so I fold my king high. This brings us to the final hand of the session, as we look down at king-queen offsuit on the button. Action limps to me, and I decide to raise it to $7. Dylan in the small blind calls, and the big blind and Steven in the under the gun position fold, so I'm heads up to a flop with my pal Dylan. Flop comes ace, ace, 8, 2 spades. Not too good for either of our hands, it seems, as action checks through on this flop. The turn is the 4 of clubs, and I'm only holding king high, so I'm pretty happy with checking back when Dylan elects to check. The river is the king of hearts, so now we have 2 pair with a decent kicker. Dylan fires out $8, and I then snap raise him to 16. He calls for 8 more, and our hand is good. We take down this $50 pot to end off the session. With that, we rack up our chips and head to Steven, where he cashes us out, and off to the outro. Alright, so that's that. Not really that good of a session, not that bad of a session. There just wasn't a lot of action tonight. Not a lot of hands were being played. A lot of players were folding pre-flop. So the best hand we probably got was the ace-king hand, which was our first hand. So, it's whatever. Numbers-wise, we were in for 200, and then we cashed out 165 for a loss of 35. But shout out to Jaren over here, who is hosting Blackjack. Jaren was very nice, and he hosted us, and we ended up winning all the money we lost in blackjack, in poker and blackjack. So we're even on the day, but down 35 in poker, but up 35 in blackjack. So we're even on the day. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this vlog was a little boring, but hopefully next one I release will be action-packed, and there'll be a lot more hands that are fun and interesting to watch. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe, share this video. I've realized that those of you who share this video, those videos do a lot better. So please just keep sharing the videos, keep liking them, and I appreciate the support as always. I will see y'all in the next vlog. Thank you once again.